ISO 4217.
ISO 4217 is a standard published by the International Organization for Standardization, which delineates currency designators, country codes, and references to minor units in 3 tables. Table A1, Current Currency and Funds Code List. Table A2, Current Funds Codes. Table A3, List of codes for historic denominations of currencies and funds. The tables, history and ongoing discussion are maintained by 6 Interbank Clearing on behalf of ISO and the Swiss Association for Standardization. The ISO 4217 code list is used in banking and business globally. In many countries the ISO codes for the more common currencies are so well known publicly that exchange rates published in newspapers or posted in banks use only these to delineate the different currencies, instead of translated currency names or ambiguous currency symbols. ISO 4217 codes are used on airline tickets and international train tickets to remove any ambiguity about the price.
Code formation.
The first 2 letters of the code are the 2 letters of ISO 3166-1 Alpha 2 country codes, which are also used as the basis for national top-level domains on the Internet, and the third is usually the initial of the currency itself. So Japan's currency code is JPY, JP for Japan and Y for yen. This eliminates the problem caused by the names dollar, franc and pound being used in dozens of different countries, each having significantly differing values. Also, if a currency is revalued, the currency code's last letter is changed to distinguish it from the old currency. In some cases, the third letter is the initial for new in that country's language, to distinguish it from an older currency that was revalued. The code sometimes outlasts the usage of the term new itself. For example, the code for the Mexican peso is MXN. Other changes can be seen, however. The Russian ruble, for example, changed from a UR to RUB, where the B comes from the third letter in the word ruble.
Currencies.
In addition to codes for most active national currencies, ISO 4217 provides codes for supranational currencies, procedural purposes, and several things which are similar to currencies. Codes for precious metals: gold, XAU, silver, XAG, palladium, XPD, and platinum, XPT, are formed by prefixing the element's chemical symbol with the letter X. These currency units are denominated as 1 troy ounce of the specified metal as opposed to $1 or 1 European euro. The code XTS is reserved for use in testing. The code XXX is used to denote a transaction involving no currency. There are also codes specifying certain monetary instruments used in international finance. For example, XDR is the symbol for special drawing right issued by the International Monetary Fund. The codes for most supranational currencies, such as the East Caribbean dollar, the CFP franc, the CFA franc BEAC, and the CFA franc BCEAO, begin with an X. The predecessor to the euro, the European Currency Unit, ECU, had the code XEU. The use of an initial letter X for these purposes facilitated by the ISO 3166 rule that no official country code beginning with X will ever be assigned. Because of this rule, ISO 4217 can use X codes without risk of clashing with a future country code. ISO 3166 country codes beginning with X are used for private custom use, reserved, never for official codes. For instance, the ISO 3166-based NATO country codes, STANAG 1059, 9th edition, use X codes for imaginary exercise countries ranging from XXB for Brownland to XXF for Reedland, as well as for major commands such as XXE for Shape or XXS for Saklant. Consequently, ISO 4217 can use X codes for non-country specific currencies without risk of clashing with future country codes. The inclusion of EU, denoting the European Union, in the ISO 3166-1 reserved codes list, allows the euro to be coded as EUR rather than assigned a code beginning with X even though it is a supranational currency.
Treatment of minor currency units. The exponent.
The ISO 4217 standard includes a crude mechanism for expressing the relationship between a major currency unit and its corresponding minor currency unit. This mechanism is called the currency exponent, and assumes a base of 10. For example, USD, the United States dollar, is equal to 100 of its minor currency unit, the cent. So the USD has exponent 2, 10 to the power 2 is 100, which is the number of cents in a dollar. The code JPY is given the exponent 0, because its minor unit, the sen, although nominally valued at 100th of a yen, is of such negligible value that it is no longer used. Usually, as with the USD, the minor currency unit has a value that is 100th of the major unit, but in some cases, including most varieties of the dinar, 1,000th is used, and sometimes ratios apply which are not integer powers of 10. Mauritania does not use a decimal division of units, setting 1 uguaya, equals 5 kums, and Madagascar has 1 arari equals 5 iramalanja. Some currencies do not have any minor currency unit at all, and these are given an exponent of 0, as with currencies whose minor units are unused due to negligible value.
Currency numbers.
There is also a 3-digit code number assigned to each currency, in the same manner as there is also a 3-digit code number assigned to each country as part of ISO 3166. This numeric code is usually the same as the ISO 3166-1 numeric code. For example, USD, United States dollar, has code 840, which is also the numeric code for the US, United States.
Position of ISO 4217 code in amounts.
The actual ISO standard does not regulate either the spacing, prefixing or suffixing in usage of currency codes. According, however, to the European Union's Publication Office, in English, Irish, Latvian and Maltese texts, the ISO 4217 code is to be followed by a fixed space and the amount. In Bulgarian, Croatian, Czech, Danish, Dutch, Estonian, Finnish, French, German, Greek, Hungarian, Italian, Lithuanian, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Slovak, Slovene, Spanish and Swedish the order is reversed. The amount is followed by a fixed space and the ISO 4217 code.
History.
In 1973, the ISO Technical Committee 68 decided to develop codes for the representation of currencies and funds for use in any application of trade, commerce or banking. At the 17th session, February 1978, the related UNECE group of experts agreed that the 3-letter alphabetic codes for International Standard ISO 4217, codes for the representation of currencies and funds, would be suitable for use in international trade. Over time, new currencies are created and old currencies are discontinued. Frequently, these changes are due to the formation of new governments, treaties between countries standardizing on a shared currency, or evaluation of an existing currency due to excessive inflation. As a result, the list of codes must be updated from time to time. The ISO 4217 Maintenance Agency, MA, 6 Interbank Clearing, is responsible for maintaining the list of codes.
Active codes.
The following is a list of active codes of official ISO 4217 currency names.
USD USS USN, 3 currency codes belonging to the US.
The US dollar has 2 codes assigned, USD and USN, next day. The USS, same day, code is not in use any longer, and was removed from the list of active ISO 4217 codes in March 2014. According to UN's Fact Recommendation 9, paragraphs 8 to 9 ECE Trade/203, 1996, available online.
Non-ISO 4217 currencies. Currencies without ISO 4217 currency codes.
A number of currencies are not included in ISO 4217, because these currencies are, a, minor currencies pegged 1:1 to a larger currency, even if independently regulated, b, A. Legal tender only issued as commemorative banknotes or coinage, or c. A currency of an unrecognized or partially recognized state. These currencies include Alderney pound, 1 pegged to the pound sterling, Cook Islands dollar, 1 pegged to the New Zealand dollar, Faroese krona, 1 pegged to the Danish krone, Guernsey pound, 1 pegged to the pound sterling, Isle of Man pound, 1 pegged to the pound sterling, Jersey pound, 1 pegged to the pound sterling, Kiribati dollar, 1 pegged to the Australian dollar, Maltese scudo, 0.24 pegged to the euro, Somaliland shilling, state of issue as viewed as de jure part of Somalia, exchange rate not fixed, Transnistrian ruble, state of issue as viewed as de jure part of Moldova, Tfluan dollar, 1 pegged to the Australian dollar. See category, fixed exchange rate for a list of all currently pegged currencies.
Unofficial currency codes.
The following non-ISO codes are, however, sometimes used commercially. In addition, GBX is sometimes used, for example on the London Stock Exchange, to denote penny sterling, a subdivision of pound sterling, the currency for the United Kingdom.
Historical currency codes.
A number of currencies were official ISO 4217 currency codes and currency names until their replacement by the euro or other currencies. The table below shows the ISO currency codes of former currencies and their common names, which do not always match the ISO 4217 names.